Alrighty, let's jump right in. I am doing Pecha Kucha on my teaching philosophies. So, this is my family. I am all the way on the left. This is my mom, and this is my dad. This is my sister. She is 4 years older than me. They have really taught me so much about myself and have really made me who I am. I will go into this a little bit more in detail a little later on. This is my cat, which she just said hello. I don't know if you could hear that. Her name is Luna, and she is the love of my life, and she has taught me how to be compassionate and actually care for another living creature. These are my two best friends who I am living with. This is Julia and this is Emily. We have been best friends since the 7th grade, and again, they have really formed me into who I am. So that is a little bit about my personal life. Now let's get into my academic life and home life and how I came up with the ideas for teaching that I did. So I grew up in a very middle-class, suburban family with a lot of privilege. When I was in about 3rd and 4th grade, I really struggled learning how to read, and this really held me back. I was getting D's and F's in almost all of my classes, and it was a huge weight on my shoulders. It made me feel pretty bad about myself, but my mom ended up getting me a tutor, and I stayed with this tutor until around 6th grade, and they really helped me get up to reading level. Now I love reading, and again, I'm aware that the ability to get a tutor comes from a very privileged place. So, this is my mom and dad. My mom, all my life growing up, was a stay-at-home mom, and then around my sophomore year of high school, she became a substitute teacher. And then my dad, all my life, has owned his own business with his dad, which sells gym equipment for high schools. So we're very much in the academic field. Both of my dad's parents were teachers. So I come from a very academic, high school-based background. So my dad, this is kind of a funny picture of him. He taught me through his own actions how to be hardworking, smart, logical, and driven. Those things have really stuck with me just from seeing how he holds himself throughout his life. He's shown me how to be all of these things, and all of these things have really changed me as a human being and are reflected in my teaching strategies. My mom, being a stay-at-home mom and then a substitute teacher, taught me through her own actions how to be caring, compassionate, a good listener, and creative. She did this by always being there for me, and when she's a substitute teacher, she listens to the students and helps them as best she can, and is just always there for people and always tries to help them. She never makes them feel dumb for not knowing something. So she really just taught me how to do all of those things through doing them herself. So both of my parents have really helped me and shaped me into the person that I am and taught me how I want to be when I am older and how I want to be a teacher. So going a little bit into my teaching philosophies and how I want to be a teacher. In my opinion, kids nowadays are overworked and overstressed. We see this now more than ever. Being in a pandemic, the kids are almost drowning in the amount of work that they have to do, and I think that this is wrong because I think that they are not putting forth their best effort into the work that they are doing because they have too much. They can't spend the time that they so desperately need because they just don't have the time to. This also adds into the homework. So they are drowning in homework for not really any reason. A lot of the homework that I see students doing is kind of tedious and it's a little bit of busy work. So With my teaching, I don't really believe in homework. That's not to say that I don't think it exists. I do. I just don't think that students in an English setting benefit from homework. I think they benefit more from in-class discussions and group work. I don't think going home and doing, writing like 10 paragraphs about something really helps them in the long run. I think that school is a place for creativity, and I think a lot of times creativity is suppressed in our academic world. I think so much of it has to do with trying to get students to check off the boxes that they need in order to pass tests. I think that it's really holding students back from their full potential. In my classroom, I hope to allow them to have freedom and free will and options for their assignments, because nobody learns the same, nobody shows how they learned the same. And I want to foster an environment in my classroom that allows for creativity and allows people to show who they are through the work that they do. Not everybody enjoys writing essays. That does not mean that they deserve a lower grade than somebody who does. It just means they show their creativity in different ways. Another belief that I hold is that everybody makes mistakes, but the only way to learn from them is to correct them. When you write an essay and you get feedback back, if you have no ability to actually change what you did wrong in the essay, you will not learn from it. My teaching philosophy is, if you make a mistake or do not like the grade that you get, I think that you should have the ability to change that, because the only way that you can learn from your mistakes is by correcting them. I think a huge issue in the world of English and literature in schools is the privilege and the lack of diversity and lack of representation in the books that we all read in school. So how I would combat this is by integrating more people of color authors. I think too often the books that we read in high school are from a very long time ago, and they don't show an accurate representation of what it is like to be a person of color in America. So the only way to combat this is to read from people of color's lips. The only way to fully understand what it is like to be a person of color in America is to read from the perspective of a person of color. So I have comprised 10 people of color who I did research on and who are good authors to read at a high school level. All of these have amazing voices and would really help students get a deeper understanding of what it is like to be a person of color in America, as well as have the students of color feel represented. It is not helpful for them to not feel the representation in the classroom that they need. So my hope as a teacher and how I plan on teaching is having a classroom that fosters creativity, understands that there are differences between students and that there are things that I do not know about students, and have representation in the literature that we read. I think the only way to be a good teacher is to have care and understanding for the differences between students and accept them and embrace them and not try and fit them into a mold. Everybody needs to see representation, whether that be their skin tone or their learning style. Everyone deserves to be seen and heard, and that is my hope for my classroom.